Hi, I'm Galen Hardy, and I'm a Community Engagement Specialist with the Office of Sustainability and Innovations Department. And next up, we have a presentation from Dee Deschamps of Ann Arbor Co-Housing Communities.
Like, why can't you just take 15 people at the end of a cul-de-sac that already kind of go to each other's houses and their kids play and like have fun and just say, here, have meals 5 nights a week. Save yourself some time. Why not just have 2 lawnmowers instead of 15 lawnmowers? You know, just like simple stuff. It doesn't have to be complicated. And that could scale. So my name's Greg Ostick, and I live at Touchstone, and I've lived here for 2 years. So there's 3 communities: Sunward, Great Oak, and Touchstone. And Sunward was first about 20 years ago, followed by Great Oak. Basically, there was more people than could live at Sunward, so they created Great Oak about 4 or 5 years later. And then Touchstone was sort of the last community. In total, across the 3 communities, there's between 300 and 400 people. So we have a very simple mission, which is to live well together. So technically, we're a condominium association, so that we can interact with the state of Michigan. And there's basically a layer of rules that are required by the state if you're a condominium association. So we're a consensus community, which means that most decisions are made by consensus. It means they have to go to the full group with quorum at what we call a plenary. That means everybody comes and makes decisions together. So the plenary makes sort of final decisions, but then the plenary basically empowers committees to make decisions. So I lived in an intentional community in North Carolina, Oilseed, and we were all young. We didn't have kids. We were super passionate about what we did, environmental stuff. But we also did a bunch of things that no one else would be willing to do. If you took a normal person off the street and you said, you're only gonna run biodiesel cars, you're only gonna run biodiesel, you're gonna make it all yourself, blah, blah, blah. They're gonna be like, no, not gonna do it. And now, especially I have a family and kids, like I get it. It's just not reasonable. What I appreciate about Touchstone and the 3 communities here is that it's scalable, or it feels scalable to me.
So my name is Mary King, and I live in Great Oak Co-Housing in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I lived a very typical suburban life, although I must say a rather unhappy one. I always felt like there was something missing living the way that I did, and the thing that I knew was missing was having a deeper connection with the people who lived around me. I knew that I couldn't stay living where I was living. It was just, every winter I'd get more and more depressed. I wanted more. I wanted more connection. I wanted to know my neighbors better. I wanted to be surrounded by community. I had this kind of part-time community with my church, right? But I wanted a full-time community. So that ended up being coupled with the fact that I was separating from my husband. And I also was interested in moving to a place that felt safe. So by some coincidence, a couple of members from my church found out about a newly forming co-housing community. And I'd never heard of co-housing, but when they described it to me, I thought, well, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So while my life has greatly improved living in co-housing, I want to be clear that, co-housing isn't perfect and co-housing isn't for everybody. It's certainly for me. But that doesn't mean that it's all rainbows and unicorns every day. I mean, we're people, right? We're messy. And if somebody were extremely introverted, it may be challenging to live in co-housing. And I've asked some of my introverted neighbors, I understand why I want to live in community, right? Because I like to be surrounded by people. I like the activity. Why do you want to live in community? And for many of them, the response has been because it keeps me from isolating. So I think that Great Oak's purpose is to provide a safe and nurturing environment for people to live together. And as our vision says, in harmony and in dissonance. It's actually been interesting to me too, how we have continued to even expand our economic diversity within the community. Because after we moved in, people figured out pretty quickly that they could have a renter. And so people started renting out their bedrooms. I happen to live in a unit that has a walkout basement. I converted my walkout basement to a one-bedroom apartment, and other people did the same thing. So now, in addition to owners, we have a significant number of renters, which means younger people. It means people who don't have as much means in order to be able to, afford a mortgage. So it's really expanded the economic diversity in the community, which I think is really wonderful.
My name is Edith Lewis, and I live at Sunward Co-Housing. When I was growing up, we had Hyde Park, we had the Six Flat, that was my whole family on my father's side, and then we had the projects where my mother's first cousins lived. I was living in community all the time. And because we lived with all of those different kinds of people, my children learned to think of that as being real community. The children would gather in the sandbox. Here are these 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds gathering together and playing. And they made up a new language. They weren't speaking Arabic, just Arabic or Spanish or German. They weren't speaking any of those languages directly, but they were speaking a new language that they had created. And I said, this is what community means. My experiences of living at Sunward initially did not meet my expectations, in that I wasn't prepared to continue to explain myself and those I cared about. We had lovely buddies in 2 parts of the community who helped to orient us to the composting, the ways in which we governed ourselves, how to manage the book of agreements, etc. What I wasn't prepared for was the inability of people to feel safe around other people. They didn't know. Even though I'd been introduced at the community meeting to folks, and we'd been to dinners, and we'd done all of the things that people had expected of us, to have to explain to my neighbors that I actually lived here. I wasn't prepared for that. Our community is learning to deal with issues of privilege and oppression. There have been attempts in all of the 7 years that I have been a part of this community to do so. As people come in, I find that we have to do it again and again and again. We've had wonderful external consultants come in. We've tried to do it with internal folks over time. What I think is most promising now is to have the book club that has been developed here doing the work. Most people, it's a book club for white people about white issues, about how to manage diversity, because they have to manage whiteness first. When I was eventually hospitalized with the heart trouble, it was my neighbors who came to visit. Other people came to visit. I have lots of friends. I'm not friendless by any stretch of the imagination, but it really meant a lot to me for people to come and to just sit for a while. Or to say, Edie, can we do your laundry? Can we water the plants? Can we do whatever? That meant a lot to me. When we had someone die very recently, watching my neighbors care enough to sit vigil for her, to put her picture all over the common house, to be present for her family at the time of her death. And when her son had a birthday 2 weeks later, to make a big card that we all could sign and put on the front porch. They weren't ready to have people there yet, but they were ready to have that child have the card. That's what this place can do, can be.
So one of the nice things about three communities being together is that it's easier to make a satisfying social life. So Great Oak actually has a great fun committee, which is sort of an oxymoron. They put on events, like they just had the Summer Harvest Moon Festival. Sunward has events like the Conscious Cafe every Wednesday, which is really great, and people from here go to. We do lots of spontaneous things like movies in the common house or campfires outside. For me, the main benefit all the way back in college until now is about efficiency, which again I'm not like a touchy-feely co-housing person. It makes sense that when you walk out your door, you should see your friends. It makes sense that 3 people should cook for 50 people.
I love the meals program. I love cooking for the meals program. I dreaded cooking every night when I lived on my own.
We don't have any explicit policies for going outside the norm for reducing waste. We have, recycling, we have a shared roll-off bin, we have compost, but besides that, we don't do, for example, car sharing, explicit car sharing. People certainly do share cars. So most of what we do is outside of our core function, which is meals and shared grounds and things like that. It's all kind of up to people to do. But yeah, I'm sure that our carbon footprint as a community is lower than your typical community.
We keep a copy of Communities Magazine right here in our sitting room, and I've read articles from that I thought were really useful. In fact, the last edition I thought brought home this kind of universal struggle that we're having in co-housing about bringing more racial diversity to our communities. In addition to that, we use the website, ic.org, as a resource for finding out about other communities across the United States.
But we're beginning to understand how important it is to build a community that accommodates people from one end of the life cycle to the other, and to be conscious about that. All people want to live, not just with old people, not just with young people, but with people from across the life cycle. Lots of communities can't do that. And it's not always possible to do that. But here I think we can make a conscious effort. And that's really important.
Hi, I'm Galen Hardy, and I'm a Community Engagement Specialist with the Office of Sustainability and Innovations Department. And next up, we have a presentation from Maxie Chanel of the Huron River Watershed Council.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maxie Chanel, and I am a drag queen who's been working in this community for about 30 years. And today I have the distinct pleasure of reading to you a book called Super Creatures of the Huron River. So we're going to talk about creatures that live right here in our community in the Ann Arbor Huron River area. So very excited to read this to you. A little bit about the book. Super Creatures of the Huron River is a project that was conducted by a team of University of Michigan faculty and students in collaboration with the Huron River Watershed Council researchers. Sarah Adlerstein developed the project. Working closely with her were Carolyn Burge, Jeffrey Evans, and Mike Wiley from the U of M, and Paul Steen and Pam Labadie from the Huron River Watershed Council. Illustrations for the book were created by MSc student Jennifer Fuller. Adlerstein modified the images and conceived the storyline. Fuller, Berge, and Adlerstein wrote all of the text. And the project was funded by the U of M Water Center as part of their 2018 Water Michigan Collaborative Funding Program. The picture book will be used as a tool to support streamside activities led by the Huron River Watershed Council. And the goal of this early environmental literacy project is to teach kids about stream ecology with a focus on the fascinating bugs that can be found in the Huron River. So we're going to find out all about those creatures and those bugs when I read to you Super Creatures of the Huron River. And away we go. So, once there was a bluegill named Gilly. He swam about on the edge of Lake Erie at the mouth of the Huron River. Gilly dreamed of being a great explorer. He wanted to swim up all 130 miles of that beautiful river. There's Gilly, there's Lake Erie, so Gilly is like right about there, and he wants to swim all the way up here. That's a lot for a little fish. But I think Gilly has it in him. Let's see. Some of his fish friends said to Gilly, "Impossible. Dams have blocked the way for years." But another fish said, "I heard some were taken down." Finally, Gilly declared, "I'll find out for myself." Shivering with excitement, Gilly dove upstream. Fresh, clear water rippled through his gills. The journey would be long, and Gilly's stomach grumbled. Why not stop for a quick snack, he thought. At the rocky river bottom, Gilly spied what looked like a tasty worm. Are worms tasty? To Gilly they are. He sped toward it, opening his mouth wide, and chomp! Much to his surprise, there was no worm at all, just a puffy white cloud. River worms are very strange and not at all yummy, Gilly explained, and swam off. Suddenly, he felt a pinch on his right gill. "Hello," squeaked a tiny voice. "Who said that?" asked Gilly, swishing his fins from side to side. He spun around and found absolutely nothing. Could it be a ghost, he wondered? "You must be very big," said the voice again. "And such a tiny voice must belong to something very tiny," Gilly answered. Indeed, there was a very tiny creature clinging to the inside of his gill. "Who are you?" asked Gilly. "I have no idea," it answered, "but I think I'm stuck here." Gilly decided that a mystery voice was not a ghost. In fact, it sounded quite friendly. "Well, you'll just have to join me on my adventure to the headwaters. Maybe we'll find out who you are along the way. Adventures are like that, I've heard." "But you should have a name," Gilly said. He looked up at the river surface dotted with lily pads. "How about Lily?" "I like that," said the tiny creature, and Lily she was. Close by, Gilly spotted a very small creature dangling from the surface. "Could this be one of your relatives, Lily?" Before she could reply, it said, "I think not. I am an extraordinary mosquito larva with a very special skill. On top of this river that we all share, I stick up my snorkel and breathe in fresh air. I gulp and I wiggle, and you might stare. To breathe through a straw is really quite rare. It is my superpower." Gilly was impressed. "I have gills, but this guy uses a straw. Cool." Lily was sure she didn't have a super straw. "That's not me," she said, and off they went. You see that? That's the mosquito larva with the very special skills. That's the straw that he sticks up so that he can breathe. Pretty cool, huh? Glad I don't have a straw to have to breathe, though. That's a good thing. I like breathing with my lungs. But then I don't live in a river, so there you go. As he swam along, Gilly felt the water ripple gently above him. When he looked up, he saw a swarm of tiny, agitated bugs. One of them poked its head underwater. You see it? Little bug poking its head in. "Hello, I am a spring-tailed nymph." "Hi," Lily replied. "Do you have a superpower? And what is a nymph?" "A nymph is a critter that's not fully grown. Adults say we're immature. Most leave us alone. My tail springs my superpower. Springs me so high, the birds are all fooled and say, 'Look how you fly.'" The little nymph was an amazing athlete, but Lily knew she didn't have a springy tail. "Oh well," said Gilly, "we'll just keep going." So there's the little nymph, and he's springing through the air. You see that? Along the way, they stopped where the river calmly flowed. Gilly popped his head above the surface. A small creature with 6 spindly long legs greeted him. It danced atop the water, tapping its toes to its own little song. "I'm a super water strider with talents you can see. I glide along the water, moving super light and free. The tension of the water keeps me balanced and on top. I can skate or do the tango without being made to stop." "What amazing performance," said Lily in her biggest voice, but she quietly admitted that she would make a terrible water strider. "Let's move on," urged Gilly. See the 6 legs? There's the 2 and then 4 big ones, and it can dance right on top of the water. I wish I could dance on top of water. So, onward Gilly and Lily swam. Suddenly, a long, snout-shaped whiz past them with incredible speed. "Who are you?" Lily screamed. The zooming shape returned instantly and screeched to a halt. Breathlessly it said, "I'm a dragonfly nymph with a water jetpack that's attached to my butt so that I can attack. I zoom like a rocket when I spot my prey. My jaw is fast too, so get out of my way." See? Got the jetpack moving really fast. After zooming away, a new critter took the dragonfly's place. It looked more relaxed. Gilly asked, "Are you a dragonfly too?" "No, I'm its cousin, a damselfly," it replied. "Unlike the speedy dragonfly, I don't move quite as fast, but I have other powers, so I never come in last. 3 feathers on my hind end parts are there so I can breathe. My lower jaw shoots out so quick, and that's how I feed." And with that, the damselfly larva walked off. What a super way to catch food, Gilly thought, feeling hungry again. Gilly's like me, because I'm hungry too. Further along, they spotted something big floating in the water. Gilly cautiously approached. The giant water bug slowly flexed its large pincers and said in a deep, eerie voice, "A giant water bug am I. To ambush is my trick. When unsuspecting prey gets close, I gobble them down quick." Gilly sped off just in time to escape the giant water bug's pincers and swam away as fast as he could. "Whew, that was close," said Lily. "What a scary superpower." After escaping that frightening creature, Gilly was getting tired. Slowly, he swam to a shallow area with many rocks and twigs to see what he could find. There, he spotted another strange bug. It was spinning a net and carefully building a nest-like structure out of twigs. "Who are you?" said Lily. I am a caddisfly larva, it said. I am a binder of stones, a weaver, a builder. I make my own home. I'm a silk-making spinner. The net that I build is really a winner. I lay it on rocks to catch my dinner. Lily thought this was wonderful, but she could not weave. Let's keep searching, said Gilly. That's the caddisfly larva. See, it's spinning its house. Pretty cool. It's like the equivalent of being able to build your own house. Not an easy task. Suddenly, Gilly came to a standstill. What's wrong? Lily asked. Is it another giant water bug? This big creature was nearly 4 inches long and had large, sharp pincers. Gilly recognized it immediately. That's the strong, dangerous Dobsonfly larva, Lily, he said. We've got to hide. Quickly, they swam back to the river bottom, where a mayfly larva called to them. Shelter yourself beneath the rocks and flatten out like me. The Dobsonfly won't find you here. Can't eat what he can't see. Gilly and Lily watched in awe as the mayfly larva squeezed underneath some rocks. It was kind advice, but Gilly knew he couldn't make himself that skinny. Yeah, I can't make myself that skinny either, but we gonna try because we got to get away from this thing. Wait, said a voice. It's Caddisfly here. I build a stone house so I can disappear. I'm skillful at gluing those pebbles around and blending right in with the riverbed ground. The caddisfly larva had glued so many bits of rocks and sand to its body that it was barely visible. Though Gilly did not have such abilities, this gave him an idea. He quickly wriggled between the rocks, which were the same color as his scales. So Gilly, Lily, Mayfly, and Caddisfly camouflaged themselves and held very still. The great pincer Dobsonfly larva passed by. He didn't see us, sighed Gilly, as he watched it slowly disappear downriver. As hungry as he was, Gilly resisted eating Mayfly and Caddisfly for dinner. After all, they had saved their lives. The coast is clear, said Gilly. Time to go. Gilly and Lily continued their river adventure for many days and nights. They encountered new creatures, large and small, but none of them were like Lily. As they swam on, Gilly began to wonder if they were getting close to a dam. He lifted his head from the water to peer upstream. All seemed calm, at least for now, but something was going to change. Uh-oh, what's going to happen? Let's find out. The further he swam, the more the surface started to churn. The water grew louder and roared above their heads. Gilly started to tumble in the turbulent waters and saw a great big wall in front of them. It was the dam at Flat Rock. Sorry, Lily, Gilly said sadly. Looks like our journey ends here. Lily thought for a moment and replied, It's okay, Gilly, even if I didn't find out who I am. We learned so much. It was a great adventure. Lily's words made Gilly feel so much better, and he leapt right out of the water. Cruising above was a small bird with an oversized beak and a fluffy head. See, look at that giant beak and that fluffy head. That's my old friend, Kenny the Kingfisher, said Gilly. When Kenny saw Gilly, he chirped, Gilly, my fellow adventurer, I have news for you. Flying up the river, I'll tell you what I found. A dam further on has been taken down. The dam is in Dexter, and maybe, time will tell, humans will go tearing down the other dams as well. If in your future travels you pass along this way, You might swim for all 100 miles up Huron, no delay. I hope you're right, Kenny, said Gilly as he flipped his tail goodbye. I guess we'll head back for now, Lily. Gilly swam from the churning water into the calmer depths of the river. There, he saw a large group of small, dark-shelled creatures. Say that 10 times fast. Said Gilly to himself. This looks familiar. Lily felt drawn to their enchanting voices. Can you swim closer, she asked. I want to hear their song. As they drew near, a chorus of mussels poked their bivalve heads above the riverbed, singing, We welcome you, Lily, and Bluegill, your host, who once gulped you down and thought you were a ghost, a traveler, you, and his gills were your nest, until it was time to stop being his guest. Your journey was winding and wondrous and long. It took you some time to change and grow strong. You finally found home after traveling so far. A Lilliput mussel, that's who you are. We figured out who Lily was. She's a mussel, a Lilliput mussel. You know about Lilliputians? They're from Wizard of Oz. They're tiny little people. Well, she's a Lilliput mussel, so she's a tiny little mussel. I have a few tiny little mussels myself. I try to work out, but, I'm still working on it. We'll see if we can stop them being Lilliput mussels. So we found out what Lily was. She's a Lilliput mussel. Now I remember, said Gilly. I found you in a place just like this, Lily. You must have been in that puffy cloud. And I found out who I am, Lily replied. Thank you for being my host. And thank you for being my traveling companion, added Gilly. Lily had grown and changed, and now she knew it was time. Lily gently detached from Gilly's gill and floated down and burrowed herself into the middle of the group of Lilliput mussels. She was home at last. Then a chorus of goodbyes followed Gilly as he swam away. He was sad to leave, but very happy for Lily. What an adventure, thought Gilly. He had discovered interesting creatures, a bit of danger, and wonderful friendship. The end. So that was all about Gilly's adventure upstream and meeting his really good friend Lily. And if you ever get this book, Super Creatures of the Huron River, they have a description of all of the cast that was in the story. You have the mosquito larva, the springtail nymph, the water strider nymph, the dragonfly nymph, the damselfly nymph, the scary giant water bug. And what else do we have? We have, of course, Gilly and Lily, the net-spinning caddisfly, the mayfly nymph, and the case-maker caddisfly larva, the dobsonfly, and of course, Lily was a Lilliput mussel. So that was all of your cast, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Of course, Gilly was a bluegill, and his friend was a belted kingfisher, one of the birds of the Huron River. So I hope you enjoyed this story, and if you want to, go out and get Super Creatures of the Huron River. Proceeds from it go to a great cause, the Huron River Watershed Council, and I have been Maxie Chanel, and thank you for letting me read this story for you.
Hello, I'm Sean Reynolds, the Urban Trees Initiative Coordinator with the Office of Sustainability and Innovations. Next, we have a presentation from Ashley Lowe with Relief, Michigan.
Greetings and happy Earth Day. Thank you for joining us today in celebration of this beautiful, inspiring, magical planet we live on. I hope that everyone takes at least a moment today to go outside and breathe in the fresh spring air. Maybe walk barefoot through the grass, look up at the budding trees, or maybe even hug one. However you choose to celebrate Earth Day, I am grateful to join you now to share our reverence for the planet. And while we pause to celebrate Earth Day today, I am excited to get back to work tomorrow to continue our efforts to mitigate the consequences of industrialization and human activities. As a project forester with Relief Michigan, I am honored to introduce our organization and show how the work that we do is inspired by my colleagues' desire to take consistent and impactful steps towards restoring the earth and increasing tree canopy in our great state. Michigan is currently losing its tree canopy at an alarming rate. The list of benefits trees provide us continues to grow as we better understand how crucial they are to our well-being. Relief Michigan is the only statewide volunteer tree planting and education nonprofit organization in Michigan, founded in 1988 by leading arborists who realized no one was serving this important need for our state. Each year, we plant hundreds of trees across the state to rebuild Michigan's urban and rural tree canopies. We also educate the public on the value of trees and the need to properly select, plant, and maintain them. It's important to us that each of our plantings or workshops are a partnership, working in collaboration with community groups on local tree-related projects. Over the last 33 years, Relief Michigan has planted over 30,000 trees in more than 400 communities statewide. In addition to tree planting events, we host the Michigan Big Tree Hunt, which is a family-friendly, fun way to identify the biggest trees in Michigan of all species in each county. The 15th biennial contest is currently underway. Learn more and send us your big tree at bigtreehunt.com. We offer regular free educational programming that is currently open to anyone to attend, as we've transitioned these seminars to an online format for the time being. We've also helped organize forestry network meetings, offering communication and training for municipalities so they are better informed on how to maintain and protect their tree canopies. Finally, we offer municipal memberships for Michigan communities, which provide residents direct access to additional tree-related information and resources. Over 33 years, Relief Michigan has planted a lot of trees. It's even possible a tree in your local park was planted by us. You can check out the interactive map on our website to see if we've planted trees in your area. Our projects are collaborative efforts and would not be possible without our project partners shown here. And our sponsors are critical supporters in allowing us to continue planting trees and growing Michigan communities. So what makes up a Relief Michigan planting? Well, a community in need of trees, volunteers committed to improving the area's quality of life, properly selected and placed trees, and qualified tree experts overseeing the process to make sure the trees will thrive for a lifetime. Take a look. Relief Michigan's tree planting events are a turnkey experience for communities. We work closely with municipal representatives from the very beginning to planting day and beyond. We assist with the selection and placement of trees and the purchase and delivery of the trees. It's important that each tree and location is carefully selected to ensure long-term survival, the right tree in the right place. Each tree is already fairly large, typically 8 feet tall, increasing its chances of survival once it's in the ground. We also provide event flyers, press releases, and other materials to help recruit volunteers. On planting day, Relief tree experts perform a detailed planting demonstration for volunteers and then act as quality control to ensure successful planting while volunteers break it into groups. Most importantly, our assistance doesn't end when the last tree is in the ground. Each community signs a contract to water the trees after they are planted, and we check on those trees to ensure they are thriving. We are committed to ensuring the long-term success of each tree planted, because the benefits we gain from trees grow substantially as they get larger. If this has piqued your interest, perhaps you'd like to hear from a few folks that we have worked with and partnered with.
Hi, my name is Emily Rohrbach, and I'm on the Board of Directors for Relief Michigan. I'm also on the Madison Heights City Council. The work that Relief Michigan does is incredibly important. When we plant trees in a community, in a neighborhood, in a park, that tree not only makes the place more beautiful, more inviting, provides shade and comfort for the people who are there, but it also improves the water quality. It improves our air quality. It reduces stormwater runoff. It is such an important investment in our future. I love the work that we do with Relief Michigan because it is a tangible way that we as community members, we as municipalities, we as individuals can make an impact in the state of Michigan, in the way that we live, in our communities, and in our environment. I urge you to support Relief Michigan in whatever way you can, through volunteering and especially through giving this Arbor Day. Thank you.
Hi friends, it's Abby with Priority Health for Good, and it's spring, thank goodness. And we're excited because that means it's time for Priority Health for Good to launch our annual partnership with Relief Michigan. We're planting 200 to 400 trees across the state of Michigan, and we can't wait to get started. Why did we partner with Relief? Because Priority Health for Good is a corporate responsibility initiative where we use time, talent, and resources to invest in the things that are most important to improve health and health equity in our state. So sustainability, diversity, equity, inclusion, and community giving are our 3 pillars that we're really passionate about. So we are really looking forward to partnering with Relief Michigan. They are the experts. They know so much about trees. And we also know through research that just being outside among the trees improves mood, reduces stress, and actually even helps you recover from illness better. So it made perfect sense for us to partner this year. We hope you'll look at the website and check out some of the upcoming planting opportunities, and we hope to see you soon.
Our experience working with Relief Michigan is
fundraising for them, helping them raise awareness of climate change, tree plantings, and having an overall amazing partnership with them.
So now that you've heard the positive experiences others have had in working with Relief Michigan, I invite you to ask yourself, can you help us in our efforts to restore the earth? Will you join us to plant trees? We have several tree planting events scheduled for the spring, and more will soon be announced. You can view these opportunities on the events page of our website, and as additional plantings are finalized, they will be added there as well. Relief Michigan has a robust COVID protocol in place for our plantings, including masks, gloves, contactless sign-in, 6-foot distancing, and we encourage you to sign up as a group of 3 to 4 individuals that have been socially distancing together. As the well-known proverb states, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. We hope you'll join us this spring. Relief Michigan is supported by people like you who care about trees, a healthy environment, and the future of Michigan's communities. Become a member online or make a donation at reliefmichigan.org. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram, and sign up for our e-newsletter to stay up to date with our activities. Thank you.